Hello, it's a vocal video and I lied. I said I wasn't going to go back to Patsy Rodenberg, but I read this passage and went, I could do this if nothing else actually came up. And lo and behold, this apparently was my preparation, was reading this particular section of Patsy Rodenberg. So yes, it's dealing with a speech from John Milton from, it's Satan, of course, in book 2 of Paradise Lost. And she gives the text right off the bat. But let me talk about what she says first, and then we'll get into this text. Um, yeah, so that Milton uses iambic pentameter, blank verse with a strong, steady rhythm, but without rhyme. It's powerful and regular, and it's one of these things where it's like there's only 6 complete thoughts in this big wad of text, and you must sustain a journey through each thought. Any unfilled pause will make nonsense of the whole scheme. Um, so in epic style, the last word of each sentence will place the whole idea into perspective. So you don't be dismayed if the sense is not coming through instantly, which I often find with poetry like this. It's like I have no idea where I'm going, and I usually end up stopping. But Patsy's like, no, get the whole thought, get to that last word, because that might actually snap it into thing. Um, the breath and power required to serve this epic verse will often mean that our speaker rushes or pushes or loses control in a desperate attempt to reach the very end. So says she's advising you to take your time and don't worry about the end initially. It's more important that you experience the fullness of the thing. And she notes that like Milton was blind, but he wrote this, but it's such visual language, cinematic language almost, the thing. So speak the text, seeing everything the words describe. See your version of heaven. See, breathe, and experience each word or phrase as you speak them out loud. So this might take some time, but it will give you a clear, constant connection to the language. So you will fracture and lose the verse, but trust the verse's power will return after the exercise when you speak the text again, not trying to see, but believing you have found the images. They will be there. So that all said, let me do a first kind of more kind of intoning version of this speech from Satan Opens the Debate. All right. Powers and dominions, deities of heaven, for since no deep within her gulf can hold a mortal vigor, though oppressed and fallen, I give not heaven for lost. From this descent, celestial virtue rising will appear, more glorious and more dread than from no fall, and trust themselves to fear no second fate. Me thought, me though just right and fixed, me though just right, and the fixed laws of heaven did first create your leader, next free choice, with what besides in council or in fight hath been achieved of merit. Yet this loss, thus far at least recovered, hath much more established in a safe, unenvied throne, yielded with full consent. The happier state in heaven which follows dignity might draw envy from each inferior, but who here will envy whom the highest place exposes foremost to stand against the thunderer's aim, your bulwark, and condemns to greatest share of endless pain? Where there is then no good for which to strive, no strife can grow up there from faction, for none sure will claim in hell precedence, none whose portion is so small of present pain that with ambitious mind will covet more. With this advantage then to union and firm faith and firm accord, more than could be in heaven, we now return to claim our just inheritance of old, surer to prosper than prosperity could have assured us, and by what best way, whether of open war or covert guile, we now debate. Who can advise may speak. And that is Satan's opener. Um, I think this is they've fallen, and now he's addressing his great pandemonium parliament there of fellow fallen angels. Um, so definitely, you definitely get that whole sense of things snap into focus with that final word. There is definitely a thing of breath, definitely trying to kind of hold it back. I don't know if I quite got the text. There was definitely certain things in there that I didn't. Where is the one? Yeah. Me though just right. Me though just right. And the fixed laws of heaven did first create your leader. Next, free choice, with what besides, in council or in fight, hath been achieved of merit, yet this loss thus far at least recovered, hath much more established in a safe, unenvied throne, yielded with full consent. So there's that consent at the end of this whole thing of free choice, of he's made his choice. He has decided it'd be better to rule in hell than serve in heaven. Um, yes, powers and dominions, deities of heaven, for since no deep within her gulf can hold a mortal vigor, though oppressed and fallen, I give not heaven for lost. I'm not giving up. I guess. From this descent, celestial virtues rising will appear more glorious and more dread than from no fall, and trust themselves to fear no second fate. Ooh, definitely get that scene. So yeah, it's interesting. Patsy giving us like a text like that to read out and to struggle with, and I can see that it would take a lot of work to kind of get that struggle to kind of hold on to that. This work on the text, this is Patsy at the very end. This work on the text may take time, but it will give you a clear, constant connection to the language, adding another level of freedom to your speaking. You will fracture and lose the verse, but trust that the verse's power will return after the exercise when you speak the text again, not trying to see, but believing you have found the images. They will be there. So there's that big thing of trying to figure out like the images that Milton is giving you here. Um, so if you're starting, the happier state in heaven, which follows dignity, might draw envy from each inferior, but who here will envy from the highest places exposed? Who here, but who here will envy whom the highest place exposes foremost to stand against the thunderer's aim, your bulwark? Will foremost stand against your thunderer's aim, your bulwark, and condemns to greater share of endless pain. So it's one of these, if you rise yourself up high as in hell, you're just the biggest target for heaven, I guess. Um, where there is then no good for which to strive, no strife can grow up there from faction, for none sure will claim in hell precedence, none whose portion is so small of present pain that with ambitious mind will covet more. So if you push yourself forward, you're just going to welcome more pain. So let me get all the pain, all the power, all the height, all the advantage. With this advantage, then, to union and firm faith and firm accord, more than can be in heaven, which is an interesting claim of claiming to union, to a greater unity, to a firmer faith, to a firmer accord. We now return to claim our just inheritance of old, surer to prosper than prosperity could have assured us, and by what best way, whether of open war or covert guile, we now debate. Who can advise may speak. So how do we do this? How do we battle heaven and regain heaven, which is sort of somewhat contradicts the whole like, wow, we're just doing great here in hell where we're far more unified and we don't have to worry about ambition and stuff like that. That's interesting contradiction in this sneaky little debate thing here. So yeah, I think this is a good example of, it is kind of an exercise, but in a way it's a reading of Milton, an interesting reading of Milton, an interesting way to approach the language of Milton, but I don't think that's what I'm going for in this particular headspace at the moment. I think I'm going for more of a vocal video where I'm working on my presentation skills. I've got to do, I'm thinking about Piranesi, Susanna Clark's Piranesi, and thinking about kind of loneliness in Piranesi. And it's like, okay, well, that might be a presentation to do. Something along the lines of that would be what I'm looking for, not tackling how to be a better reader of John Milton. Not that that isn't a worthy goal of its own, but it's not really the goal that I'm going for at the moment. Not in this exercise. Oh, I'm just itching my leg because it's itchy, but I should not itch my leg because then I will have scratch marks on my leg. That's a little bit of a tangent. So yeah, that is a very scattered vocal video where, okay, okay, I did that. I gave it a try. I am just going to try and I don't have anything else in ebook form to read at the moment, so I'm going to try and read a fair hunk of The Need for Words in the next week and possibly get it done. And then I can circle back and work on compiling all the exercises that I've gotten out of this book. All right, more videos later.